Welcome to Creator Upload, your creator economy podcast. I'm Lauren Schnipper.
And I'm Joshua Cohen. Lauren.
Yes.
You've been getting out of the house more.
What's that? Me getting out of the house? Yeah. Yesterday, I went to a really cool event. Weird that you weren't invited. Ben Rellis, I would call him AI Superman to the stars, also known as, longtime YouTube executive, creator in his own right, and he's been working with Reid Hoffman for many years now on sort of all of his AI initiatives. He famously co-hosted this podcast with me, and it was the first podcast ever that AI Reid showed up to and was interviewed, which was very exciting. And he sort of did this kind of class yesterday at UCLA, invited about 75 people total, and we were all in like a classroom setting at UCLA at Anderson School of Business. And it was just kind of speed dating AI like discussion. So it was Chatham House rules, which for those that are not familiar, I'm sort of not at liberty to say exactly who said what, but like some of the big sort of topics of discussion, as you can imagine, because the whole thing was about AI and creativity and everything. We're talking about attribution and how, that's a way for folks. I should zoom out a little bit is to say one of the big main topic of conversation was like how to get creatives paid for contributing to ultimately what AI is using in spitting out kind of whatever creative that they're going to spit out, because obviously all of that is informed by sort of humans. And so there's a lot of conversation about attribution, and there was a very sort of, I wouldn't say heated, but spirited exchange with somebody who's working on some of these initiatives being like, this isn't rocket science. Like, we can do this. Like, it's called Content ID. Like, YouTube finally did it when they had to. Like, this is possible. And then, of course, somebody brought up sort of this idea that like, which is what the tech companies supposedly sort of use in terms of their argument. Like, if you're a writer, you are influenced by all the books you have read and the research you've done. And so how is that any different than, what, AI is doing? And somebody, very firmly said, like, if we start, comparing human capacity to these machines, that is the end of humanity. Like, it was like, so a lot of these discussions, a couple of professors from UCLA, we did like mini breakout sessions. One of them was really funny. It was like, okay, in the next 2 minutes, come up with 3 solutions with how like the industry should tackle this. And we're like, yeah, no problem. We're on it.
Do you think that that's a normal thought exercise because you're constrained by the time, so people just have these innovative ideas, or was that just a product of how much time you had in the session?
Yeah, it was a 90-minute thing. It was one of those things where it was like awesome that it was 90 minutes because it was just felt like you were like getting so much really quickly. It definitely could have been longer, but like loved that it was 90 minutes because we were like in and out. One of the, professors did this whole spiel, which like, frankly, this is what they did when I was at Facebook, was like historical context and talking about all the people that were like, VCRs are going to be the end of humanity. Ebooks, Jonathan Franzen had some quote being like, ebooks is like literally going to be the downfall of society, and like MP3s will ruin the music industry. And then, we're all supposed to look and be like, haha, that's so funny. Like, that didn't happen. But the truth is, it did completely, those technologies, I would specifically say like MP3s, meaning one, and he didn't mention streaming, by the way. Streaming did decimate pieces of the entertainment industry in terms of revenue driving. And so as an artist, if you're a big musician, like, you cannot rely on record sales anymore. Like, you must tour kind of relentlessly if you want to make the kind of money that they were making back in the day. Like, streaming has decimated the, call it VCR, DVD industry, which was a huge moneymaker for movies. If you didn't make money in theaters, you knew you were going to make some money in DVDs or VCRs, and that has completely been like gone away. So what has that resulted in? It's resulted in a certain kind of movie being made for the theaters that you can get butts and seats for, which are your franchises and like things that are not like your indie rom-coms, which like maybe you see now on streamers, but they don't have the impact. So to say that these things aren't cataclysmic, these kinds of technologies, is inaccurate. We don't know what it's going to do, and it doesn't mean that there's not going to be other amazing innovations as a result of it, or there's not going to be, really cool things. But I took a little bit of issue because I was like, noticeably absent from these examples are streaming, which again decimated a huge monetization kind of stream for the industry. So it was really cool. I definitely feel like it was more positive than sort of negative. And
yeah. So what's the net? What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it was like, there was no necessarily solutions 90 minutes, right? But it was like, the question was sort of like, AI should, or I should say the sort of main takeaway for me anyway, was like AI should not be feared. Instead, we need to be asking, how do we like shape a future where we can thrive alongside AI? And like, it's here, you know what I mean? So let's all get on board. One person who was a very storied kind of executive, sort of at the end of the class was like, I'm arguably the oldest person here. And he was like, Ben, I would suggest that like next time you do this, you get like under 30s here. And then Ben, of course, was like, I mean, I texted them, but they didn't get back to me, which was hilarious. But there were a couple students from UCLA that like all of a sudden he was like, wait, there's a couple people here. Like some of the professors invited their students. But, it was very cool.
It really is interesting, this bifurcation between the younger generations about like the ones that are really into AI versus the ones that think it's stealing humanity at its core.
Right.
So you see these people that are under the age of 30, under the age of 25, in high school, in college, and a lot of them are like, AI is terrible, and I'm only going to support real artists for now and for the rest of my life. And the other half is like vibe coding the next $1 trillion company.
Oh, there was a lot of talk of vibe coding too. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. For those that don't know, actually, you described vibe coding because I'm probably going to do it terribly.
Well, it's coding for coders that don't know how to code.
Yeah.
So it's you working with these different platforms and typing in whatever you want to type in to create the product that you want to create, and then just basically following a set list of instructions. It's like a cookbook that gets generated in real time for whatever you want to code.
Right. And they were saying like, somebody, when the discussion of sort of vibe coding came up, somebody was saying like, at the end of the day, that's all great, but like, we're going to end up with like a sea of like terrible, shitty apps. And like, like, even if like, yes, vibe coding can be good, but you still need a product manager. You still need a person with a vision who like can instruct. And, I think you're just going to open up that field of who can be that sort of person with a vision.
Sure. There's some recent more easy corollaries with that, with the rise of blogs and the rise of vlogging and making online video. Right. When it first came around, you were looking at everything, but now you're only reading the good stuff.
Yeah.
And the same thing applies to all these other inflection points in technology that made it so a greater percentage of humans could do that thing.
Yeah.
Where, yes, there's going to be this glut of all these shitty apps, like there was this glut of all these shitty blogs.
Yep.
And the good ones get used.
Yeah. And like, of course, the argument is like, therefore, like, in order to stand out, you have to be like that much more excellent, which like maybe isn't such a bad thing, right? Like, so there's a sea of terrible and like, yeah. So you have to be so good to sort of stand out from the crowd of terrible.
Yeah. It just gives access to people that wouldn't have had access to it before.
Yep.
Same way that low cost production materials gave access to people in the creator economy to produce stuff that they wouldn't be able to produce before.
Yeah, for sure. Which, good and bad in that, am I right?
Yeah, sure.
But it was cool. Ben was like, like, if you guys like this, tell everybody. And I was like, I thought it was awesome. I was psyched. It was sort of it was really funny because everybody, it was like a last minute thing that I certainly found out about. And he's like, I don't get offended if you were the last person, just found out about this. He's like, I've been planning this for months, but like basically forgot to send the invites out until last week. So I was like, he's like, you're not all B-list. And I was like, thanks. What a guy. Anyway, so that was really exciting. And then I've got an event tonight. She's very busy right now. I probably mentioned it before on the podcast. I have a sort of a networking, kind of female networking group that I started with Jamie Goodfriend, called Smart Girls, which is like women, media, and tech, and all the things, no assholes allowed is sort of a general kind of like threshold that we have. And so we have our third year running, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, that's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you. End of summer sort of bash. And so that's happening tonight, and we're having a really cool speaker also about, I should say, 2 speakers that are going to come talk about like a very big marketing campaign that went viral in the last month or two. Can't give the details. I'm just in a lot of really confidential.
It's pretty obvious what it is, Lauren, too. It's pretty like obvious based on what you've talked about even on this podcast before.
Like, it's like I'm very important, and I'm like I can't talk about like a lot of really important things. So getting out of the house. Josh, you've been doing a lot of outside activities recently, and I know you're exhausted, so I'm sort of taking one for the team this week.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem. All right, let's get to some bigger stories. So apparently the Oscars might be on YouTube. So the Oscars, of course, also known as the Academy Awards, which are, celebrating the best in film. Apparently YouTube has inquired with the Academy about the Oscars broadcast rights. So apparently it's been on ABC since I think 1976 or something like that. But the window to negotiate kind of came and went. So it's kind of an open field right now. And so this is something, much like the NFL rights, the YouTube is, looking to have the Oscars on the platform. And I haven't decided how I feel about this. I think it's different than the NFL, which I don't know. It doesn't feel like the NFL. I don't know how to describe this. I was going to say something probably insulting to people that love football, and I like football, but I was going to say it doesn't feel as sacred, to like have the NFL, sort of be broadcast on YouTube. But the Oscars, for lack of its, despite its sort of irrelevancy, increasing irrelevancy, feels like it should not be on YouTube, but maybe that will make it more relevant and highlighting YouTubers that made great films. But I don't know. How do you feel about this, Josh?
Lauren, I have lots of thoughts here. So first, let's just look at what ABC and the Walt Disney Company were paying for the Oscars.
Okay.
This deal that they're currently in runs from 2021 to 2028, wherein, according to reports, ABC is obligated to pay no less than $1.03 billion to the Academy over the course of those years.
How many years
for the
is
right
that?
to produce the Oscars.
How many years?
2021 through 2028, so that's 9 years.
Okay, 21 to 28 would be 7 years? Cool.
You have to include both the beginning and the end year. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 8 years.
Guys, welcome to Creator Upload, where we can do math. Go on.
Public math is our specialty. So 110 to 120, $30 million a year. ABC's
It's a terrible deal for ABC.
Seems like a terrible deal for ABC, and we'll get to why more in a moment. But so they had this exclusive negotiating rights where they could talk about who's going to get the show after 2028. They let that lapse. So now it's open for everyone to come and make their bids. And here's why the deal seems terrible now for ABC. It's because the Oscars haven't been doing so great. Now, they peaked in terms of viewership with 57 million viewers in, Lauren, guess what year?
Okay, wait, hold on, because I do want to think about this. I used to have like Oscar parties every year. This was my jam. And I was deep in it. I'm going to say 2007.
1998.
Wow. Okay.
Guess what movie precipitated that huge increase in viewership?
Isn't that Titanic year?
Titanic year.
Yeah.
40 million viewers in 97, 57 million in 98, 45 million in 99. And then it just keeps going down from there. The last time the Oscars broke 40 million was in 2014. Last time it broke 30 million was in 2017. And in the past 3 years post-pandemic, it's gotten 18.7, 19.49, and 19.69 million viewers.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, it's still substantial for one night of broadcast, but it's not even, that's pretty
totally substantial for one night of broadcast. Also ranks among like heavily viewed Sunday night football games.
I was going to say, what does the Super Bowl get? Can you give me some numbers?
I'm so glad you asked, because I have that up as well. To compare it to Super Bowl numbers.
Yeah.
So in 1998, the Super Bowl got 90 million viewers. 98. So like a 1.8x Oscar or so, almost 2x Oscars.
Okay, so 98 Oscars got, like you said, 56?
57.
And Super Bowl got
90.
Got it.
And then in 2010, the Super Bowl passed 100 million viewers, and it hasn't looked back. 2019 dipped. 2021 and 22 also dipped below 100 million because of the pandemic. But in 2025, the most recent year, Super Bowl got 127 million viewers.
So they've kind of gone up.
What do you mean kind of? Yes, totally gone up. And you can see why YouTube was interested in associating itself with the NFL. Basically any live sports right now. That's what all these broadcasters want, because that's the only thing left.
That's the only thing left. Oh
right.
my
It's
God.
the only sacred spot of television outside of maybe this handful of award shows.
I used to have the best Oscar parties. I mean, we would do the trivia, we would do the this, that, and I just don't anymore. I mean, oh God, it's so sad.
So I see why YouTube wants to do this, because they've had success with NFL and the NFL Sunday Ticket, and more closely aligning themselves with this property and this franchise and this team, this league that is on an upward trajectory, but brings more people into the fold. They can inject their creators into NFL programming. The NFL can become more entwined in YouTube programming, and there's this real symbiotic relationship moving forward. The Oscars presents a similar opportunity where YouTube, which desperately wants to be seen as more professional, more
Yep.
Hollywood, more
Yep.
premium,
Yep.
it presents a similar opportunity where it can more entwine itself with that community and that ecosystem.
With
It
that
can
kind
have
of
its
content. I mean,
creators
it's
host.
yeah.
It can have creators, maybe not host, but present, be part of the red carpet, etc. Bring more of the people who are being honored at the Oscars into the YouTube fold and family.
Well,
Create programming around that and more.
And let's just zoom out a little bit. Why do they want to do this? They want to do this because brands want to align themselves with premium content that they feel is worthy of their brand, right? Brand friendly is what people say. And like, to be clear, there's incredible content being made on YouTube. It's effectively like the new indie, movie studio, if you want to look at it that way. Like, obviously independent filmmakers are putting their stuff on YouTube. So it's not like this stuff doesn't exist. There's just a whole swath of other shit that's on there that's, I would argue, not that, right? And so there is it totally makes sense for them from like a financials perspective, from a gravitas perspective, and the ability to sort of like highlight, that kind of content on the platform, which it does exist again. And so, but it just feels like, it's like, how far are we going to take this democratization of content? You know what I mean? Like there's got, like, if everything is sacred, nothing is sacred anymore. You know what I mean? Like, so it just feels, and of course I'm old school, and of course I haven't stopped watching the Oscars, but I've stopped watching it to the extent that I have. Like, I was obsessed. So like, I'm a part of the problem, if you will. You know what I mean? But it's there. I don't know how I feel about this.
Like you said, YouTube wants to shift this perception among basically media buyers that it's a more premium quality entertainment experience, so it can get television advertising dollars.
Yep.
They're doing this a bunch of different ways, part of which is through the different types of programming they're paying for to have on their site. And part of it is through their increasing dominance of the television screen at home. YouTube in July got 13.4% of all television viewership.
I mean, that's huge. I just think we need to
It's huge. Hold on. It's huge. 2 months earlier in May, it had 12.4%. So it's averaging about a percent increase every 2 months. Lauren, if we map this out in 14 years, YouTube's going to be 100% of television.
You know how good we are at maths. I definitely think we should be mapping this out.
Yes.
I just think that we need to take a moment and like just talk about how crazy it is that we're even having this conversation. Like, you and I have been in this business for a long time. I will say, so one of the people that I ran into yesterday was the executive that helped, that basically got on board and sold the show that I co-created with Shane Dawson in 2011 to NBC. So he was the first YouTuber ever to sell a show to NBC. He was the one executive who got it. We pitched it all over town. We went to movie studios. Like, we were banging down doors to do stuff with these studios, and they were all like, yeah, you're cute, sign this, take a picture for my kid, but like, no, thank you. So this was going back, call it between 2010 and like 2014, when we were getting like every door slammed in our face, right? And so here we are a decade later talking about the Oscars on YouTube. Like, that is, I believe the word would be cataclysmic in terms of change, and that would be, and like, just like how fast that has happened. We're talking about a movie industry that's been around for over 100 years, and in a decade now we're talking about the Oscars on YouTube. Like, I just think we need to, like, change is happening so quickly right now, especially with AI, and like, I just think we need to like take a moment, take a beat to like really understand how fast, especially the last couple of years. Like, it feels like it was like a slow build, and then the last like 3 to 5 years it's just all of a sudden been like, all right, we're all in this, let's do it, let's go, AI, creators, blah blah blah. And you're just like, and I think that's why you and I are always kind of like, you don't know what it's like, you don't know what it's been like. Like, the first few years, I mean, guys, should we cut to like the clip of Josh with like Telsey TV back in the day and like the ponytail? I mean, that was a thing not that long ago. Google it if you haven't. And so Telsey, I don't know, it was the precursor to the tube filter. Google it. And so this is bananas.
Totally bananas. And I like how it's just commonplace right now. It's just like, obviously.
I don't know if I like it. I haven't decided. I feel like I've been part of the reason it's commonplace, and I haven't decided if I like it.
I like it. Everything's impossible before it's inevitable, and now it just feels inevitable.
I know. But again, if nothing's sacred, if everything's sacred, nothing's sacred. So like where, you know? I mean, it's true.
What are we talking about sacred stuff now? What's
Well,
sacred?
I'm just saying the Oscars was this like huge like moment in Hollywood, and it was like, if you get this award, and now if it's like on the biggest platform where everybody can make content, it's not that thing anymore. And by the way,
I think it might mean something different. It also
and it
can
also is not that
maintain
thing
a bunch
now.
of its
It's not that thing
gravitas.
now. It's
Right.
not that thing now. So I get it. The change is already, we're already in it. Like, you know, yesterday when people were talking about how we regulate AI, half the room was like, we can't, we're done. Like, just like go and like deal. So like, I understand that I'm in the change right now, and we're here and we're doing it. But it's also like, wow, okay.
And Lauren, to your point about the ever-evolving landscape and how things are way different now, if you were pitching shows with creators to big networks, some of them might get picked up. Netflix, for instance, is continuing its creator push, bringing Mark Rober on board. Obviously, Mark Rober, the famous YouTuber, he has over 70 million subscribers and 13.7 billion lifetime views on his primary channel. And he had previously done a show with Jimmy Kimmel and his Kimmelot Productions for Discovery Channel in 2023. You know, he guest hosted for Jimmy Kimmel
I did know
a couple
that,
times
yeah.
in 2022.
I did know that, yeah.
But next up, Rober and Kimmel are bringing a, quote, kids and family competition series, end quote, to Netflix. That's according to a Netflix blog post that is going to be produced by Rober's Crunch Labs and Kimmel's Kimmelot, along with Scott Lewers, who has supercharged Crunch Labs content output since joining the brand earlier this year, is also executive producing on the upcoming project.
Kimmel, yeah, I saw that. Kimmel said, "My kids love Mark Rober, and so do their parents. Mark's videos are so clever and inventive. It's easy to forget that they're educational, too. We can't wait to introduce one of the best and brightest creators to Netflix."
I think it's going to be amazing. Also, his Crunch Labs, his subscription box, if it was doing like 30, 40, 50 million bucks a year before, after he gets his Netflix show, I mean, that could be bananas.
Could be bananas.
Bananas.
Netflix is not the only platform that's like sort of, call it mainstream platform. I don't know what to call it anymore. Nothing's mainstream. Nothing is sacred, Josh. I don't know if I've mentioned that. But
Then
Tubi, which is owned by Fox, is also making a big push to creators. They've recently brought on Rich Bloom, who's a longtime Vimeo exec, to run sort of creator programs. He recently hired Kudzi Chikamboo, who was, of course, a longtime TikTok executive, to be their VP of creator partnerships. And they've been announcing a bunch of different initiatives. We're actually going to have Rich on the podcast soon to talk about that. So there's a lot of platforms getting into working and bringing creators on board because they know, y'all.
Lauren, they do know. And along with Kudzi's announcement, they are bringing content on board the platform from the likes of MrBeast, John Boy Media, Selena Spooky Boo, Stephen He, Alan Chicken Chow's Alan's Universe, and more. And I think also Tubi had the shift in just like culture and the kind of cultural consciousness after the 2025 Super Bowl, where Fox used it as an integral part of its distribution strategy. I mean, 13.6 million viewers watched the Super Bowl on Tubi, which is a huge number for a platform that I don't think necessarily was getting a lot of recognition or notoriety or being noticed that much beforehand. And I think what Tubi's been able to do with that is really leverage the brand and themselves into something that can be a real competitor in this ecosystem and this marketplace, especially going after younger demographics with getting more of these creators on board. It'll be really interesting to see how creators work themselves into Tubi's programming, whether it's just another distribution source or whether there are more originals being produced.
Right.
And then how that possibly like trickles up into Fox in general too.
Yep. No, which of course acquired Tubi. So yeah, no, super interesting to see how that's going to play out. The next big thing I want to talk about is sort of like what is starting to seem like it could be sort of not good days for Roblox. So Roblox, of course, is famously like kind of positioned itself as like the kid-friendly platform, right? You can build on it and all this sort of stuff. So they have very notably like a lot of younger sort of users, like 20% of them are under the age of 8. And the another 20% are between 9 and 12. And the state of Louisiana is actually now suing Roblox due to their lack of sort of protections against like explicit content towards minors. So the Attorney General in Louisiana said, due to Roblox's lack of safety protocols, it endangers the safety of the children of Louisiana. Roblox is overrun with harmful content and child predators because it prioritizes user growth revenue, and profits over child safety. Every parent should be aware of the clear and present danger posed to their children by Roblox so they can prevent the unthinkable from ever happening in their own home. The lawsuit points to several sexually explicit experiences, one called Escape to Epstein Island, Diddy Party, and Public Bathroom Simulator Vibe. The company is sort of not commenting on this, but this isn't great. I mean, it's, there's 82 million daily active users. Again, 20% of them are under the age of 8. That's a huge amount of kids on there. TechCrunch is citing that there are 82 million daily active users, and 20% again of those users are under the age of 8. And so this is like people are starting to, assume that, it's going to be a bit of an adpocalypse on Roblox, meaning like advertisers are going to be abandoning the platform until they can figure this out. But this ain't good, y'all.
It isn't good at all. And just to add some more color to some of those numbers, so the Washington Post recently reported that Roblox has 111 million daily active users, with around 36% under the age of 13. Other sources estimate about 40% of users are under the age of 13. Roblox doesn't have any minimum age. They are trying to put in more safeguards for users under the age of 13.
Sure.
And one of the most biting quotes from this Louisiana lawsuit is when the Attorney General Liz Murrell said, Roblox is, quote, the perfect place for pedophiles, end quote. And basically what the concern here is that children are going to be interacting with games on Roblox, meeting other people that are posing as children on Roblox. And then that conversation is taken off platform to someplace like Discord, where then the conversation can continue and then possibly culminate in like an actual meetup or interaction.
I mean, I think
with these individuals.
Terrifying. I mean, I know your children like run Footloose and Fancy Free all over the internet. So like, I don't know if you even thought about any of this stuff, but like, this terrifies me. This is terrible. I mean, I remember on AOL back in the day having like some guy named Dale that I was like messaging and calling on the phone all the time, who like wouldn't send me pictures of himself, but like I sent him a picture of me. Like, this is true. This happened. And like,
I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Thank you. I mean, nothing happened to me, but like,
yeah, but still, that's not a pleasant experience.
I had a good time. Like, it was like,
in retrospect, maybe it's a little bit different.
Like, no, like, yeah, in retrospect, I'm like, honestly, it was like, not, I like completely locked it away in like the memory bank. And then like, I was like, oh, Dale was a pedophile, as it turns out. Do you know what I mean? Like, terrifying. And like, nobody knew about anything back then. My parents were very aware I was on AOL, but they didn't really know what that meant, And how did I even connect with them? So many questions about Dale. But the point is, like, it is so much easier. But we also know a lot more now. So it's like the fact that there's not a million safety measures on Roblox right now is I'm not a user, so I can't speak to, like, do you feel, I mean, your kids are really on it. Like, do you feel like your kids are safe? Do you feel like it's enough safety protocols on there?
We have some safety protocols in place. Like, there's not nothing. Like, you can restrict for your children if they can chat, if they can accept friend requests, what type of people they can chat with, etc. So there's not nothing, but what happens is that there's no kind of detection mechanism at large that seemingly is good enough to filter out, one, if there's like weird illicit sexual conversations happening, or just improper conversations happening. And to your point, if people are building these experiences that seem like they're innocuous from a just language perspective, but if you go into them or you actually look at what they're called, it raises some huge red flags.
Yeah, no, it's kind of terrifying. So, but it's also just like, per like everything, like there are a lot more protections that these platforms can implement if they prioritize them. And so I would venture to guess that as a result of this lawsuit and the fear of an adpocalypse on Roblox, like they are going to suddenly institute a ton of child protections, which
totally. And there's other lawsuits outside of this one with individuals coming forward and suing Roblox and in many cases Discord too for allegedly facilitating these kinds of experiences. And all of this came to a head as well in our creator world because there was this 22-year-old YouTuber known as Schlepp who would basically run these catch a predator style sting operations on Roblox. So he would pose as a minor on the platform. He would bait these sexual predators into conversations with him. Then he would take it off platform, hopefully garner enough evidence where then he could then move it over to authorities, and then they could take it from there. And then Roblox basically banned his account because they said it violated the terms of services because he was trying to encourage conversations that were happening on platform to go off platform somewhere else.
Mm.
And then this caused this whole like Barbara Streisand effect with it, this whole outroar, because it's like, here's this guy, whether you believe in these individual civilian vigilantes should be doing this or not, a lot of the public said he was doing the right thing here. And you have this platform that isn't, from an outsider's perspective, doing enough to shield its community from these harms. And you have this person that is trying to do something and then that person gets banned. That seems whack. In response to all these lawsuits and this news coverage, Roblox shares dropped 10% in recent weeks. And so I think if you're going to convince any kind of company to introduce new measures, 10% dip in their stock will definitely help.
Which is also just like upsetting that it takes that to, happen, to make things happen. But it is true, as soon as it affects the bottom line, like they are going to get into action immediately and all the things. So
I think there's no surprise too that this is happening at a time when Roblox is seeing like more growth, more traction, more users,
and they can't
and more
handle the
interest
growth,
than ever.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like there is limited resource. People think these companies have infinite resources, but there is limited resources. So like if they're going to focus their attention on building these things, the user experience for growth is going to suffer because they're not going to have all the people working on that. So like that is going to happen and people are going to complain about that. And so because it's not like you can just snap your fingers and hire all the people that can do all the things. Like it doesn't work that way. So I do have not empathy, but I do have an understanding that that is a fact of these companies, but like it shouldn't be growth at all costs. It should be growth with the protection of its users, especially if they're minors. So get your shit together, Roblox.
Totally. And Roblox just introduced this initiative where they can have third-party IPs come onto the platform, like SpongeBob SquarePants, like Twilight, like Stranger Things, and then creators can create new games
Worlds,
with that IP.
Yeah.
And everybody splits the revenues and everybody's happy. And a bunch of users get to enjoy something new and fresh that was created with some IP that they have some familiarity with and probably love. Those people are going to want way more restrictions on the types of conversations that are happening in those worlds, because the last thing you want if you're one of those platforms is like in a Stranger Things game, this happened.
Oh my God. Terrible. 100%.
So I think,
there's a lot of angry phone calls happening right now.
Totally. So I think we're going to see some resolution come very swiftly here.
Yeah.
That's going to be very harsh and not unlike the repercussions of the Adpocalypse on YouTube, where it basically made YouTube a better, safer place that was more accountable. And then because of that, it was able to really thrive and grow, I think, like way faster on a much steeper incline. I think we'll see the same thing for Roblox here.
All right, Josh, uploads, downloads?
Sure, Lauren. I got one here from OG creator, the king of DFTBA and Nerdfighter number 0, Hank Green, of the famous Vlogbrothers and founder of VidCon and many more things. He has launched an app in the App Store called Focus Friend. And what Focus Friend does is you log in. You don't even have to put in any of your email or anything. Log in, you get this little bean, and this bean goes and knits stuff while you're focusing. So you can say like, hey, I'm going to focus right now. And then the bean's knitting things for a period of time. And then you don't want to interrupt the bean. So you don't want to touch your phone because you're focusing and you want the bean to focus too. And then he knits little socks or scarves and you can put them up around your little virtual environment. It's a very fulfilling thing. The bean gets to have some knitting time and something to show for it. And you get to have some free focus time. It has been downloaded so many times that it is the #1 free app on the App Store, beating out things like ChatGPT, YouTube, TikTok, and more. What I love about this too is it's cute, it's free, it's not asking for a lot of your information. That seems very on brand for Hank Green. If you want to pay for some super cool scarves, you totally can, but you don't have to. If you want to pay for different types of beans, you can, but you don't have to. No ads for now and for the foreseeable future. And it basically incorporates a lot of this productivity trends and hacks into a really cute way. It's like part Pomodoro effect, part body doubling, and creates an environment that, look, like I have it. Is it helping me focus? Maybe. Can I see how it could help lots of other people focus? 100%.
sort of jumping on the bandwagon of, not using phones that much, I recently I don't know if it's in my feed or what it is, I keep getting surfaced this company called Tin Can, which is basically a new type of just kind of landline where all you do is plug it in and you can kind of list out who can call you and who you can call. So the idea is like instead of getting kids' phones when they're young, they can have this like really cool looking phone that you just plug in, and they can have, you can list like the 10 people that can call them and all that sort of stuff. And so it's like the moms are loving it right now because it's like, a way to get your kid like a cool phone. It has like a cord. Can you imagine a cord connected to the wall? And so it's a very interesting time in our space in terms of, I think there's a lot of people, Hank Green being again the OG creator. So like these aren't people that hate creators or don't want you to watch any content. I think everybody just is very much realizing that we are on our phones too much. And so we're all looking for ways in which to use our time more effectively. And I think that for better words, those notifications saying you spent 8 hours a day on your phone right now are finally like, making people realize that it's time to maybe do other things like go outside. Call me crazy.
I like it. You can touch grass and scroll at the same time.
Totes.
Whether you should or not, I don't know.
There's an app for that. All right, Josh, I think we did it.
Lauren, I think that's it. I'll see you creating your own Roblox experience. It's very safe, very parent friendly, just introducing kids to Broadway.
Outside, well, not on my phone.
If not there, next week on Creator Upload. Today's show was produced by Lauren Schnipper, Joshua Cohen, that's me, and Adam Connor. It's edited by Adam Connor too. Original music is by London Bridge. You can check him out on Instagram at London Bridge Music. Make sure you subscribe to Creator Upload right here on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, as well Spotify, or wherever you're listening. While you're there, give us a rating and leave us a comment. If you want to talk, hit us up at info@creatorupload.com. If you like our show, recommend it to a friend. If you love it, just tell everyone. Thanks for listening to Creator Upload, and we will be back next week.